Hi, and welcome to our podcast, Healing with Horses, the #1 podcast for equine guided therapy. I'm one of the hosts, Jackie Jones, and I'm a psychotherapist trained in transactional analysis.
And I'm Julie Lewis, the equine facilitator, and together we're going to guide you through the world of equine guided therapy. Don't forget to click subscribe to be notified of our latest podcast episodes. And if you get any value from this podcast, please support us by leaving a review. It really will help us out and motivate us to keep making these podcasts.
You can connect with us on social media at Equine Guided Therapy and subscribe to our YouTube channel to get regular videos all around equine guided therapy and mental health. We hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome back to the first ever episode of Healing with Horses from Equine Guided Therapy with Julie Lewis and myself, Jackie Jones. And the title of this episode is How Horses Help Us Heal, which is a real mouthful. There's a lot of H's in that sentence, Ju.
You developed that sentence. That's why I love you to say it.
I think I did quite well there. I didn't lose my teeth. So it's about looking at, equine guided therapy is a different form of therapy, and it's using horses in the healing process, whatever that is. And horses have this wonderful innate ability to sense and respond to human emotion, whatever that is. We've seen this firsthand with some of the groups that we've been running, where the horses react completely differently to different people.
I think, what did we get? What was it called? It's called mirroring, where the horse will reflect back to you. So if somebody's feeling very anxious, one horse might move away from them. Another one of the horses, it might move towards them when they're like that. So they will, as Jackie said, they will respond in the way that suits their feelings as well. It's all to do with the electromagnetic fields that we've got around us, and obviously horses have been used for years and years without us really realizing it, because of the connection that we've had, isn't it? You know, horses and dogs. I know cats, but they always say you never really truly own a cat.
No, they don't. Mine's always buggering off and going to next door neighbour's house.
They do their own thing. They make themselves most comfortable wherever they are. But horses have been with us going way back, as far as you can remember, as far as further than we can remember. Obviously, if you look back in history, they've been our servants, they've been our friends, they've been our work colleagues, they've done everything. They've been part of teams. I mean, it's not that long ago that there were wagons coming up the street pulling barrels of stuff, that, you know, every village, every town had a number of horses in town pulling things, that were delivering things, you know, coal, all the rest of it. So they've been a massive part of the human life in this country. And I think as the digital world and, you know, everything else has gone on, horses have obviously taken a much further step away from that. But personally dealing with horses, when you're hands-on with a horse, it has a massive relaxing effect, healing effect. It is healing. But when I used to work in an office and had horses that I could only sort of deal with before 9 o'clock and after 4 o'clock, I could come out of an office literally static, thinking, God, I've now got to go up and see the horses and sort them out. And it was the last thing in the world I wanted to do on a February evening when it was absolutely peeing with rain and blowing gales, and I could walk onto that yard. In fact, I could drive onto the yard and think, leap out quick, get changed, get them all done. But the minute I sort of heard that wicker, whatever it was, and get a nuzzle and a sniff, something, that was it, done. That was better than anything out of a jar. It was better than anything out of a bottle. It was better than anything out of a syringe for me. And I say for me, that was the thing for me. But I think that was my therapy. Is that heavy word again? But it's not meant to be heavy. But that's what kept me sort of grounded and in the real world. So I could then go home from work with the kids and just chill, do what I needed to do without bringing work home with me. I could unload the horses. They did it for me. They let me throw it all behind me, leave it in the office, leave it in my briefcase, leave it in the car.
And one of the things with horses, you know, and I suppose it's the same with quite a lot of animals really, but horses, it feels different somehow, is that they don't judge us. Do you know what I mean? They don't care where you've been and what you've done or anything. As soon as you make that connection with them, it's that's what I like about it. Yeah,
you're right there. A horse isn't interested in your bank balance, what kind of car you drive.
Absolutely.
The thing that they're interested in is that you arrive with that car, because they know that they are getting your attention. And I run a livery yard, as you know, with 11 liveries on it. And I can be in a stable and I have no idea. I can hear a car coming up the drive and it's not visual. And I'll hear one of the horses whicker. And then I can think, oh, so-and-so's here, or oh, that's so-and-so and so-and-so, because their horse knows their car.
Yeah.
So that's the connection is that deep. Do you know what I mean? And that fine, that, you know, they will pick up who is looking after them. I walk onto the yard and some of the horses, well, all the horses will look at me because I'm the one that feeds them most of the time. But
Yay, she's back. She's got food.
yeah, but a lot of the other horses won't make a sound. They'll be happily, you know, munching, looking over the doors. But as soon as their owner pulls up on the cart, they're there waiting over the door, waiting for their owners to come, because they've got that connection with them. So, and I always say to a lot of people, you know, when I've been teaching people who are very nervous of horses, particularly adults, because kids don't have that same kind of nerves, but certainly adults, when they come to me late in life learning to ride and they're a bit nervous, and I'll say, look, if this was a Great Dane, put it up 4 times. Treat it like that. It's a big dog. It'll do as it's told. It's not going to bite you. It's not going to hurt you. Lead it as you would lead a dog.
Yeah.
Ask it something kind and empathize a bit with it, and it will come to you. Horses are innately meant almost to come to us and have an involvement with us, even in a field of young horses. If you're brave enough, and you know horses, and I've done this, and I'm sure loads of horsey people have done this. You go into a field where there's a load of young stock that you might know them or not, you know, young horses. They'll look at you and they'll go over, and if you do nothing except just sit in that field, they'll all come over. They're so naturally inquisitive that they'll come over to see who you are and want to have that relationship with you. And that on its own is a lovely feeling. That's a lovely empowering feeling, I suppose.
Yeah. It is when you make that connection, when an animal like a horse that's big and strong and has free will, that's the bottom line with all of this. Do you know what I mean? The horse is using its own free will, whether it wants to come to you or move away from you. And often that's mirroring, you know, your energetic state as well. You know, if you're stressed, or I want to say not being authentic, if you're making out that you're something that you're not in that stable, the horse will see right through it.
Yeah.
It will know if you go in and try to pretend to not be scared when you actually are scared of it. It will see straight through you. It will know what's going on.
I think the other thing as well, for such massive creatures, I don't think people realise, if you're not in the horse industry or in the horse world, I don't think people realise just how gentle they are. I know one lady particularly said, yeah, but they kick and they bite. And as children in this country, particularly, if you the first time you ever come across a horse with a parent, the first thing they would say, and I'm guilty of it, is don't go behind it. Don't go behind it. Because everybody thinks horses kick. Well, yes, they do. They're flight animals. They do kick if they're scared, or if they're being attacked. But they're not naturally aggressive animals.
Yeah.
They're not, as I say, they're not aggressors. They're flight animals, not fight animals.
Yeah.
To be around a great big animal that you think is going to kick you or bite you for no reason, that's a big issue for people as well. And that's what's quite surprised some of the clients that come for the first time, and they realize how gentle they are and how subtle the movements are that some great big horses do. Very, very subtle. Having said that, some very big horses can move very, very quickly as well. So it is one of those things that when you're witnessing it and being around it, it's fascinating to watch. But the gentleness of it, and even when, as a rider, or just watching, if you ever see a horse and you're watching anything, horses will do everything to avoid, if a rider falls off, a horse will do everything to avoid treading on them. You watch it in the horse racing industry, you watch it in every kind of event or show jumping things where horses and riders come tumbling down or whatever. They will do everything they can to avoid making contact with that human, because they are very sensory animals as well, and caring, if that's the right word to use, because that's kind of a bit of an emotional, mental thing. So maybe that's not the right word to use, but certainly intuitive. And like you've just said, authentic. They will only behave as they know how to behave. They're not going to judge us. They're not going to. Somebody said to me, "Oh, what's this in the moment thing?" And yet horses are in the moment. They react there and then to what's happening there and then. That doesn't mean they don't remember things. That it's not like a goldfish. they will remember things, good and bad,
Yeah.
and sometimes can have an impact as well on how they respond to humans, or how they respond to a particular human. So you might find a horse is fabulous with everybody except that chap.
Yeah.
So there's so much to explore, and for clients coming along to have sessions with us, they'll be fascinated. And as I say, as we go through this, there's not just one kind or one type of session that we're going to be doing. These sessions
Well, that's something that I wanted to touch about. Do you know what I mean? Horses' behaviour in the herd, for me, is similar to how we are as, people in a group. We've got the ones that are the life and soul of the party. There's usually somebody that's the leader of the pack. There's usually somebody that's, quite withdrawn and quiet and, doesn't really say boo to a goose. We've got all these different personality types, but the herd has a way of being together as well.
Yeah, there's a hierarchy. Like most animal groups, there is a hierarchy, and that hierarchy changes because the groups might change.
Yeah.
And so whoever's the little quiet, like you said, that won't say boo to a goose, when they're put in with other little boo to a gooses, they might become the big boss. The guys or the gelding, the mare, who is going to say, yeah, everybody walk this way, everybody go up this top of the field now, we're going here. Or they might become the bully of the group, which again, that's reflective, isn't it? When you talk about people and humans, people who've maybe been bullied become bullies. Yeah. People who've been abused are subject to becoming abusers, things like that. So it's all relative, and it's mammal behavior, I suppose. I don't know. I'm not a zoologist, and I'm not an animal behaviorist.
No,
I'm the equine facilitator within Equine Guided Therapy. But certainly over the years and over my lifetime of dealing with horses, you can watch. I spend hours just standing watching horses in a field, which if I've got the time.
yeah.
But just people buy. I've got owners who've changed their horse, who've bought a horse, who've bought another horse, who had horses introduced, or because of the grassland management, we've changed the groupings of the horses, and watching the behaviors change when you think, well, I know that horse, he's a gentle little soul, and then you watch him go in with somebody else and you think, wow, where did that come from? What was that little bolshy monster? Where did he come from? Or the other way, somebody who's quite dominant being introduced into another part of the group suddenly becomes Mrs. Meek.
Which to me is really interesting, because that's what we do as human beings. You're looking at everything from the horsey side and I'm looking at everything from a human side, because we can change our personality or our persona dependent on who we're with.
Yeah.
Do you know, and that's the bit that fascinates me, the energy that goes on around us as human beings with other people. I talk about when I'm in a session with a client that it's I'm okay, you're okay. There is nobody better than anybody else. That's how I work in a therapy room. But I know for me, if I'm with someone like a police, I still can't look a police officer in the eye. I don't know what it is, but I can't do that. I always feel like I've broken the law even when I haven't. But they're definitely one up and I'm one down because of the status and just my upbringing and how I've been brought up.
You're bad.
I must have done something horrendous in a past life. But, I can change my position dependent on who I'm actually with in a room. And I would imagine the horses do that in the field as well.
But that's something that's a revelation if you're not used to, as a one horse owner, if you've got one horse and you've maybe had one horse all your life, or for 10 years or 15 years or whatever, and your horse is only ever in that paddock on its own or with a couple of other horses, you might never ever witness that and never notice. And you might, my horse is quite a strong, it's the leader of the pack. And then you put it in with a different group, and once they've sort of got their herd dynamics, that horse suddenly becomes a different character. It doesn't mean it's a bully or anything else, but it's moved in the pecking order, and it's quite a jolly chap and things like that. And there's something that I'm not a fan of, but I know why people do it. Horses to their owners are massively precious. Most horses in this country wear great big thick steel shoes. A lot of people keep their horses on livery yards at livery, so they're kept at livery, at somebody else's stables. They're not kept at home. And there's a thing in this country at the moment for when you offer livery to people, that it's sole own paddock, separate paddocks. So every horse is on its own, and you might have acres of ground and you'll see all these little paddocks, all, a couple of acres each maybe, or an acre each, which is fine, that's fine. from a human point of view, you think, yeah, they've got enough space, they feel safe, they feel secure, they've got food, but they've got no pals.
Yeah.
Putting kids in a play, for me, it's
Yeah.
like putting kids in a playground with lots of boxes painted on the floor and saying, you can play in that box and you can talk to that person and that person and that person and that person. Those 4 people in your box, but you mustn't talk or play with all of the other children around there.
Because they are sociable creatures, aren't they? They like being,
Now, I get why owners don't want to do it, because they're so precious and so valuable. And with great big steel shoes on, people get bitten, people get kicked, and that can be the end of your 30 grand horse, or your 2,000 pound horse, or your 400 pound horse.
yeah,
The value innately is to the owner, and nobody wants a vet spill. And unless it's very carefully managed, it can go, it can go wrong. And I'm as guilty as anybody else of this. One of my own horses, we call her the witch, up until recently.
Lovely name.
Because she wouldn't be in a field with other horses without chasing them off all the time, and she was quicker than any of those with her back legs, and they'd all want to come and say hello to her, and so I was terrified of her damaging anyone, so I kept her separately. But that's all changed over the summer. We've been able to change the dynamics of that, and I'm astounded. And I think on one of our videos that I've put up on our page, on equineguidedtherapy.com, I think I've even put on there, I never thought I would see the day that she would be turned out with other mares and geldings and chill and relax. And she's a different horse. She's a better horse for it. She's a much happier horse for it.
Yeah. Which, is wonderful, because even us as human beings can go through changes. We're not stuck in our ways. That's one of the things that I say to everybody. Do you know what I mean? There's always hope. All it takes, one thought changes everything as a human being. So it's really good that you can see that from the horsey world as well. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, they can change. Whatever it is that makes it happen, it's good when it does.
And it might change again, but that's the whole point, isn't it? That's life. Life changes. I think, what's the phrase? Shit happens, move on.
Yeah.
Never look back.
That's it.
When you're in the moment and you're living in that shitty bit, it's hard. It is so hard, I'm sure. Touch wood. I've never had anything too dramatic happen. But there are people that live through crap, and if you can just keep going forward.
See, one of the things that I love about the horses as well is that, we talk about being in the present, it's about being in the here and now. As human beings, I believe that all of our suffering is either in the past or the future. Do you know what I mean? In this moment, now, me and you doing this, we're absolutely fine. There's nothing going on. And that, 99.9% of the time in the present moment, we are okay because we're thinking and we're here. A lot of our suffering is in the past. It's things that we've already been through, or we're trying to predict the future, all the what ifs and everything. So if we can keep out of both of those areas and get in the here and now, which to me, being around nature and horses and all that sort of stuff is when we talk about grounding, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about being mindful and being in the here and now. And it's just a wonderful place to be. We can process things so much easier when we're in the here and now.
When we did one of our sessions, the ladies that were on that, I can remember when we did the initial grounding session. You'll remember this, Jackie, and it was almost because they were so, come on, what's going to happen? Oh, they were so excited about doing the session and everything else.
Yeah.
At the end of it, they wanted to redo the whole grounding thing again and revisit it. Can you remember?
Yeah. Because they said they get so much more out of it.
They said, I really want to do it again now because we've grounded and gone through the session. They wanted to do that bit again to get the benefit, but that was the first step of the whole process. That was, for me, that was fascinating because obviously, well, not obviously to everybody, I've never been in therapy. I don't know anything about therapy, so that's
I've had years of it, Julie. Years and years of it.
But yeah, it was fascinating to see that and see the work we're doing, because it is group therapy, obviously. There is an opportunity if anybody wants private sessions with Jackie, that's absolutely fine. In the same way, there's an opportunity to do more with horses. We can direct you in that way if anybody wants that as well. But the whole point of this is it's a group thing, and it's a group of like-minded people. The groups that we do, mostly people will come in a pair.
Absolutely.
Well, that's human nature, isn't it? People like to with the bestie, with the husband, with the partner, you know, with the next door neighbour, because nobody likes to walk into a room on their own.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think one of the things that I found from the groups that we have already done is that, you know, the feedback that we've had from them after the fact is that it's not just that 3-hour session with us that they get these insights. It's still happening afterwards.
days and weeks
A lot
after,
of this stuff filters through days and weeks after being around the horses. So, you know, it's I'm not even going to use the word that you use for it because we're on air or whatever. There's quite a few swear words in it, but it's like voodoo stuff. That it's magic. When it happens, it's magic. Yeah.
Witch hookery, but change one of the letters.
That's the one.
It's witchery.
So if you want to try a bit of witch hookery, then you can come and join us. And we'd love to see you because we just want to spread the word. You know, this is all about, you know, a different way of being, of you know, prioritizing yourself. I think, you know, people say, you know, self-care is selfish. Prioritizing yourself all the time itself, it's not. We need to be doing this because it's important for our own mental health and well-being that we take care of ourselves. And if that's sitting in the middle of a field for an hour where you can just regroup and be around like-minded people, then it's not harming anybody. Give it a go. So until next time, we will be talking on the next episode about exploring the healing connection between horses and humans.
We will. That's something to look forward to.
Yes, absolutely. So until next time, Julie, thank you.
Thank you. See you soon, folks.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Healing with Horses. Please follow us on whatever platform you're currently listening on and leave us a review.
And if you got value from this episode, please share it so that others get value from it too. You can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube at Equine Guided Therapy.
Or you can visit our website, equineguidedtherapy.com, to book a session with us. Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you all soon.